Ref's already gone. All right, everybody. It's Defenders of Comics, and we actually have a special guest, one of my favorite TikTok people and Instagram people, Cosmic Comic History, and it's Tom. How are you doing, Tom?
Good. How are you? Thank you for
Good.
having me.
Oh, man, it's a pleasure for us. Tonight, we
Well,
have
we're
some
excited.
serious discussions and some fun discussions, but we were sort of slapped in the face today with the news that Superman might be different. So we're going to look into that a little bit on could it be Clark Kent Superman or could it be a different Superman? And then Josh or Ace, you can tell us what we're going to get into about DC Comics and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, DC wise, we're just gonna go over some of our favorite storylines, through the past with DC Comics, whether it's a miniseries, whether it's an event, or just a run of a certain title with certain creators. So we're gonna all of us go through those, the ones that we probably pick out our favorite and give that a discussion. Then we're gonna go into talking about the DCEU, the live action movies and or HBO Max series that we're most excited about, things that we're really legitimately looking forward to. And then finally, we're going to talk about DC Comics again and how maybe where we see they are at now, and if we have any idea and hopes for how they might show some improvement. So that's what we got on track for tonight.
Sounds good to me. Hey, welcome,
All
Ref.
right.
Nice to see you back.
Oh, hey.
All right.
I was just a little nervous.
Oh,
Okay.
you're nervous? You had to go.
Yeah.
You had that P
Yeah.
nervous P?
Yeah.
Hey, what was that line from Falcon and the Winter Soldier? I'm like using it at work all the time. It's like, there's no such thing as on time. You're either early or you're late.
I dig it. I'm late.
I grew up that I had to be early. All right, so let's jump right into it. The first main discussion is we got news today from the Hollywood Reporter. Is that correct?
Yeah, Hollywood Reporter.
That there is going to be a new Black Superman, which I'm excited if they're going to go a direction on a possible Val Zod or a possible Calvin Ellis. But the worrisome part is that they said it was going to be Kal-El, and it's going to be historically correct. So we're worried that it's actually going to be Clark Kent Superman. What do you all think about this?
Yeah,
Hi, guys.
Tom, go for it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm a big Superman fan. You can't see it here, but I have a couple of Superman statues, and I've always loved Superman. It's one of my favorite characters. But you can certainly see that, just like a lot of other characters that debuted in the 30s and the 40s. With Superman debuting in 1938, that there were certainly not inclusive comic books at the time at all. And I do think, and you do have to kind of applaud the Marvel, DC, and just any other publishers that are really trying to expand their horizons and reach the new readers by being more inclusive. I got to tell you, I'm one of those people that really does just not have too much of a problem with gender swapping your characters, or I don't know what would the term be here, race swapping possibly. It doesn't bother me too much, considering that uh, there really is, in my opinion, no core element to the Superman mythology that relies on his race. I mean, other than being Kryptonian, the fact that he's from a fictional planet, and when he arrives on the comic pages in 1938, in many ways, the America that he was protecting, the America that he was representing, was almost as fictional as Krypton. The image that was presented in the 40s and 50s, especially, that wasn't the real America. That was the idealized, kind of romanticized version of America. So I do think it would be cool to have a different artist, in this case, a different writer, director, really take its swing at revitalizing the character, and reaching different audiences, younger audiences. I do. The fact that you said it was historically accurate, And they mentioned that it might be a period piece, which I am curious what exactly that means. Because if they are, you know, I don't know, I'm not sure exactly what that means. How are you historically accurate with a fictional character? I am trying to wrap my head around that one.
Good point.
But generally the limitations on Hollywood's limitations on Black characters seem to be centered in and around either the civil rights movement or the Civil War Reconstruction kind of era. And it would be also nice, if they kind of broke that mold as well and just said, listen, this is Clark Kent, this is Kal-El. DC has subtly and I think nicely done changed a lot of secondary character, race and genders. Lately, you see the Cat Grant character from DC Comics is often presented, at least in the animated forms lately, as being African American. Obviously,
Perry White.
Perry White as well, right? And oh my gosh, Iris West. Who? I don't know if you saw the new Justice Society World War II cartoon. They finally shifted her race over to African American in the cartoon as well, and no impact whatsoever on any of the characters really, other than now opening the horizons, I think, for inclusivity. I don't think there's any reason to. I mean, let's say I don't think there's any reason to make it. That Hollywood stereotypical. This is either going to be a civil rights movement or you can present this Black Superman, and they did say Black. They didn't say like African American. They said specifically Black. So you're not even sure if this is where in the world it's going to be set. So we're going on very little information. I am afraid that we are putting all our eggs in one basket with a Hollywood Reporter. And I mean, I'm sure your feed was inundated with updates about this, and it's all based on this one source. And if you read when you read the article, it's only about a sentence or so that touches on this. And I think it even says like a Kal-El type. It doesn't necessarily even. I could be wrong. I read it like twice today, but I don't remember saying like this is definitively going to be Kal-El or just the almost like a Kal-El type. But they do have like, to me personally, if you were going to go back to the Civil War slavery period in the United States, I mean, Icon would have been a perfect character to build a franchise off of. He is such a great character. It would be great to use some of the milestone characters well. I know they have plans for Static, but
there's rumors there's plans for him.
Yeah, right. They've been making a He-Man movie now for the last 20 years. Franklin Langella is getting a little old. I don't know if Dolph Lundgren will be able to pull it off, but
don't get me started on He-Man. It's the pipe dream holy grail.
Right. I can't. I mean, how many times have they had to start on that? It's just. And I think just recently, just recently they lost somebody. I think maybe the actor.
The guy that's gonna be Atom Smasher and Black Adam was signed as He-Man, and he's out. I
mean, it's a bad sign if everyone's jumping ship like that. And I'm just saying that. I mean, Icon would have been awesome. Icon would have. He's such a great character, such a seldomly used character. I remember going nuts when he appeared in Young Justice, and he had lines, and Rocket was somebody.
That was really cool.
They did a great job. It's a shame not to use such great intellectual property.
Yeah, I think that's probably. I mean, two areas that concern me is well, just going back to where they would center it when they mentioned period piece. Right. I hope also that Hollywood wouldn't go into the typical areas you would think, because then it's almost like, well, then the whole movie is going to be about race. Mm-hmm. If you said it in the civil rights movement, it's going to be. I think there were racial connotations to Black Panther, but what made that so universally appealing is that it was it was this whole other world and a whole other original character that was so exciting and new, and you explored this tribe and that tribe, and it wasn't just about that. So you end up pigeonholing it in a Civil War situation or the civil rights movement. Does it just become that? And like that would be kind of disappointing. And then the other thing is, like you said, we were talking about this before earlier. Why not Icon? Why not
like Valzad or
why not Valzad or Calvin Ellis? But I mean, that's one discussion. If you're going to do an African American or just black Superman, you already have two.
Yeah.
You already have two in the books that you can base it on. But even I think better would be Icon, because it's an original character.
Oh yeah, and and what a way to because I do know that they are pushing the milestone characters again at DC. What a way to get those characters front and center. I mean, people, I know I would go nuts for it, but I think Calvin Ellis, I think they're probably going to avoid Calvin Ellis just because it's too on the nose Obama. Calvin Ellis as the
black
Superman
president.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's why the character exists. And, Obama being a big comic book fan, which was awesome. That was great. I remember even hearing rumors, that he brought his Spider-Man comics into the White House when he went in. So that's pretty cool, but I think at this point it's too just on the nose. It's too it's not even clever satire or clever commentary. It's just
it'd be kind of groaning like, okay, all right.
And then that leaves you with really Icon, and in my opinion, it leaves us with Icon and Valzad. And I guess if you're going to make a Superman, well, how old is Valzad? Valzad was introduced in Earth 2, like issue 1, right? Like
what do you think,
2014?
That
2015.
sounds right.
2015.
Yeah.
So I mean, relatively new character, and ripe for the picking, right? It'd be a great.
Yeah.
See, I would love to see it. Plus the costume is just spectacular. I love it.
It's fantastic, and I think Earth 2 is such a undermined comic. Like, I mean, I think Earth 2 is a great comic to introduce these alternate versions. I mean, Ace knows this, but I really get into a lot of the alternative stuff, like Injustice, and is phenomenal. To see different variations of them, and I can't be too disappointed with a Valzad. I can be excited about a Valzad, but don't make it a Kal-El. Like I'm a little bit more strict on the okay. I'm cool with a black Superman, but let's make him his own super awesome character. Let's not have to go into the curtails of someone else. Let's because let's be honest. I mean, especially with the Zack Snyder cut, like Superman, Kal-El was one badass effort, because let's make Valzad his own different,
I agree with you. I do think that this is indicative of a larger issue with Warner Brothers in general, is that they do not know how to use their properties well. I mean, they just don't have a handle on that yet. I remember, and I very freely admit this because when Guardians of the Galaxy went into production, I remember thinking, well, that's going to be Marvel's first miss.
We said the same thing.
Yeah, I said, I don't know who the heck these characters are. It's a tree and a raccoon. Who's gonna care? And in the first 5 minutes, I'm bawling my eyes out, crying as Star-Lord's mom is passing away. At the end of the movie, I'm crying for a monosyllabic tree that dies. So they know. I mean, right now, I'm sure there are a lot of people going, Shang-Chi, Eternals, who the heck are these guys? But I'm sure they're going to blow us away with their ability to make us feel for these characters. And don't get me wrong, DC animated films are some of my favorite, but they don't know how to give Batman a rest. They don't know how to give Superman a rest. Let them be. There's thousands thousands of other characters to pick from, and they just don't know how to do it. They don't know how to
Yeah.
exploit their own properties. And
Yeah, they're the House of Batman right now. That's
Right.
what that's what they are, really.
I mean,
Oh,
next
sorry.
year, what? Maybe 2 or 3 Batman running around. Yeah, Ben Affleck and Michael Keaton, and maybe that's it. I don't know.
When you
Robert Pattinson. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Robert Pattinson. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So you got 3 Batman running around, and not a single Plastic Man, or not a single icon. Yeah, just to go back to that. Just I mean, really missed opportunities here.
I want to say
why they haven't made an Animal Man HBO Max kind of horror tinge series is beyond me. Jeff Lemire's run with the New 52 writes itself for TV. I don't even understand it.
Side by side with Scott Snyder's Swamp Thing. I mean,
oh, absolutely, yeah.
The way they blended those things together was just amazing.
I want to say this because I am not as the knowledgeable as the past and all that as you all, but with what was said, and like you said, if Hollywood Reporter is going to be what we follow here, we better hope that it is a Calvin Ellis, or we better hope it is a Val Zod, in my opinion, because 2 things, if that can happen, like John Campa said today, if those 2 things can happen, then that means Henry Cavill can still be signed for a next Superman movie. And in my opinion, I actually think Calvin Ellis would be, if they could do that right, I would be all for it if they could do it right. And it's going to lean more towards that way, in my opinion, than Val Zod. The other thing that I'm worried about is, and I don't think it was done by accident, is they did this on Henry Cavill's birthday, this announcement.
Right.
And I'm scared about that. That's where it scares me more than anything.
Well, I sad to say, excuse me, that I almost don't think that anyone at Warner Brothers made that connection. Like I don't. I think that it is so coincidental that, again, it shows just how little understanding of their audience, how little they understand the product. On another note, but I do think, though, and this might be another issue, the casual fan, if we are presented with a Superman that is not Clark Kent, regardless of race or gender, well, I guess Superman would have to be, but anyway, I think the executives at Warner Brothers are just going to say, you know what, it's going to confuse people, and to an extent that notion drives me nuts, that they don't understand that their audience is intelligent enough to figure out that there could be multiple, I know, just to get back to that, multiple Batman running around on the silver screen and on HBO Max in a year or two. I'm surprised they're doing that. They've been so resistant to have different versions of their characters across different media at the same time for fear of that confusion. And to see them doing this, I don't know if it's, again, lack of planning, or maybe they're going to present to us this concept of the multiverse, that maybe that's where this Superman will now exist. I'm never optimistic about anything DC says.
I do,
or really Warner Brothers.
I do want to say this,
We've been burned too many times.
I say this to my wife all the time. I wish I was a naive person, because for me to think that Warner Brothers DC does not know this is Henry Cavill's birthday is a little naive, and I worry they 100% knew it was his birthday.
Just to spite him, you think?
Well, it's like
there's a contract situation.
That they did know that they did know it was his birthday, or that they are so clueless that they didn't know. So either way, it shows incompetence or complete disarray, because both of it's pretty bad, whichever way it was.
So one of the things that, and we talked about this very quickly before we went on air, is that DC. Well, I keep saying DC because I really don't want to blame DC. The fanboy me doesn't want to blame them. I want to blame Warner Brothers, AT&T, and to a large extent, you really do have to point the fingers at them.
You're right.
We were talking about how even tone deaf they were a little over a year, no, a little less than a year ago, when a week before Fandom, they did a culling of their staff, and they fired everybody a week before they were celebrating their product. And
Yeah.
I just, I don't see them as a company that really realizes the potential and what they are holding on to. Disney
Well, I mean,
has done.
how,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, how you go from Rebirth, one of the most emotionally charged
Yeah, that's so good.
that I've read in a long time, um, to just kind of floundering. They just have, I mean, it's they want to, and them more than anybody wants to be controlled by the media. They want to be controlled by, you know, this is what Superman looks like here, so we need to juxtapose it into the comics,
Right.
which is again, we that's where I really, even with concern to Marvel, I fear that a lot of times we let the movies uh, dictate what the comics use and how they portray these certain characters.
Well, it's a
Sure.
fine line to walk because Guardians of the Galaxy, the movie, like we said, I love it. I think it's phenomenal. Wasn't some of the characters are very little like their versions in the comics, but it was so well done in the movie that it didn't matter because they were great.
Right.
The problem is though, then Marvel wants to copy what's in the movies into the comic because they want to shove that out to people who are new readers. But the problem is for old fans like us, it's like, this doesn't work. You've
Right.
totally changed who they are. But on the flip side though, it's not new reader friendly. So Joe Blow comes off the street. Hey, I love that Guardians movie. Show me a comic. And you're like, wait a minute, Star-Lord's
Right.
not funny. He's kind of a badass. What's going on here? So it's a hard line to walk.
That's always going to be a big issue, especially I don't know sales statistics as of late with books of any kind, but I'm sure they're not even matching probably where they were 10 years ago. It's a lot of accessibility.
They're pretty bad. Yeah. No, go ahead. They're pretty bad.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So that was just an estimate, I guess, based on the amount of event books that are constantly happening. Because I remember event books felt like an event. They were designed, of course, they were designed to boost sales and gain new readership. But when you're having one, it seems like every other month. It seems I can't imagine how that is special anymore for retailers or just casual fans in general. We were talking about the death metal event, and I couldn't. I picked up an issue or two and never ever found my way into the book. So I don't blame Marvel for it. I know exactly what you're talking about because my awareness of the Guardians prior to the release of the film was something I gained after I saw the film. I was not really aware of. I didn't know that I Lord Groot spoke in 3 words, but in the book he speaks well. He speaks often, and I do see that they did change like Yondu's look, Star-Lord's look, Gamora, Drax. I was okay with it because I had no emotional investment in their characters prior to the film's release. So, but I do see what you're saying. But it's good business on Marvel's part. I think for anyone who saw Zack Snyder's Justice League and then went to the books, that's not those aren't the characters you saw. It didn't match up. There's no synchronization. I don't know the synergy between the products,
right.
Across the board. I'm not sure if those are the right words, but it just doesn't exist on the DC level.
No,
Marvel seems to have their a good act going with that.
Right. Yeah, I mean DC's just kind of a mess too. Going back to when we say DC, I think that's a good point. Warner Brothers, AT&T, whether we believe the rumors or not, there's a divide there of the pro Snyder faction and then the hey, Walter Hamada, we're moving on from the Snyderverse side of things, and it seems to be a real thing when you have Warner Brothers top brass giving an interview the Monday after the Snyder Cut came out on Thursday about how, hey, Snyderverse is done. Hope you enjoyed it. That they couldn't even soak in the positive reviews that this got and all the viewership that it got. I was like, hey, by the way,
Right.
it's done. We're moving on.
Yeah.
And so you create this division then in the fans of like, hey, there's a huge contingent that want this Snyder, at least the storyline, to be completed. And you're purposely or I don't know, without purpose, it seems like, dividing the fans, and it creates that division. So
Right.
it does seem like, is there someone there that knew, hey, by the way, Henry Cavill, it's your birthday. Just as a reminder, you're not going to be starring in the new Superman movie. Just as a reminder. So, I mean, it just seems like a huge, poorly ran ship, let's say.
Right. I think one of the things that's been driving me nuts lately is like, I don't even feel that we got the Zack Snyder cut, because he's still releasing things that didn't make it into the film that Warner Brothers didn't allow in, including the Jon Stewart Green Lantern reference. And I gotta tell you, and I was so excited. I mean, I was doing like a countdown. I sat down with my two sons and my wife to watch the movie, and I stayed awake, and they didn't. And I loved every second of the movie. I thought it was great. It was like art. It was like someone online made a comment, and I can't get it out of my head. They said, like, every frame that you pause, it feels like it could have been a panel from the book, from a comic book. And it's true. It's so beautifully done. But I was 4 hours. It should be done. And it's not. So they really didn't give him that creative control that we thought they did. And because if they're telling him, for some reason, I guess maybe, I'm not sure, maybe they have plans for Jon Stewart in the Green Lantern Corps show. I don't remember.
Supposedly.
Is that the reason why they didn't allow the character into the Zack Snyder cut of the film?
Yeah, supposedly the movie, you know, they're going to do the HBO Max series with a host of lanterns, and then the movie's supposed to have Jon Stewart as the lead with Hal as a mentor. Supposedly, you know, we'll see. But, if, like you said, who knows if it'll happen.
I mean, I was waiting to the end of the movie to see who this character is. It's going to surprise everyone. And then they show Martian Manhunter. I'm like, well, they showed him about 3 hours ago. For some reason, oddly changing outside Martha Kent's door. I don't know why he did that, but I guess it was
kind of creepy.
The camera there. Right. And then he appears at the end. That had zero impact on me. Like, all right, well, all right. So I'm ready. You know,
funny story. My dad calls me up. He's like, son, who is this character? First it's Clark's mom, and then he walks out and he changes into this alien. What's happening? I was like, okay, Dad, it's Martian Manhunter. It's okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You don't need to know. You're not going to see him again.
You know? Right.
What I want to get back to what we're talking about with the Black Superman, and the thing that we talked about the other day, if you remember, on female, like male dominant roles now becoming female, and especially Marvel. My problem with that is there's so many good female superheroes. And my problem with this is there's so many good established African-American superheroes that I want to see. Why can't we just veer towards that and make those, like, Icon sounds amazing. Why cannot we get that instead of taking Superman and changing the whole thing?
In my opinion, it's branding. You know, Captain America is a recognizable symbol, and I think it's an easy way out for the brass that makes the films. You know, that makes the books. Now, I listen, it doesn't bother me. At least I actually like it. I kind of like you guys had said earlier about seeing the different versions of your characters, whether it's Injustice or alternate Earths, kind of that Elseworlds version. I always love the Elseworlds stories. You know, I always thought
those are fun.
Yeah, and so I don't mind these because I've always loved that other version. I mean, even while you're playing Injustice, I'm sure you'll love to unlock the other costumes. So to me, it doesn't bother me so much because it's almost on that level. You know, I don't mind other characters inheriting a mantle. You know, it doesn't. If you're no longer going to be Captain America and Sam Wilson is. All right, that's cool with me. You know, I like it, and he's perfect for the role, and it works out well. In
Yeah,
terms
that
of
was a little more organic. You know, it happened organically.
right.
You know, he was set up, and the
Yeah.
storyline moved a certain way. Where
and plus they were able to silence all the comic geeks by saying it happened in the books first, guys. Relax. You know, don't calm down a little bit. It happened in the books first.
right,
I get what you're saying to an extent. I just don't. There are in my mind there are very few characters, and the more I think about it, that number dwindles even smaller when I present myself with the logic behind it. But there are very few characters for whom gender and race are truly like defining aspects. I mean, of the character. I can't tell you. I've posted things, and you know, people write like, "Well, what if they made?" And you know, they made that joke in Falcon and Winter Soldier too. They said, "What if they made a White Panther?" And they're like, "Oh, actually, it's White Wolf." But you know,
right.
but for Black Panther, you know, him being from Africa is a defining aspect of the character. You know, in the same way that I've been teaching history for 20 years. I can't tell you like how Eurocentric our history is. You know, that we're teaching the children. And when they hear that there's a world outside of Europe, that, you know, great advances and great cultures existed in Asia and Africa prior to colonization, and you know, it's and that's kind of what I felt like Black Panther was. That moment where maybe it was at the UN at the end where they say, "Oh, what do you have to offer? You just shepherds," and something like that, and they give each other that little, you know, we know the real story. We know the real deal kind of look, and that was great, and that is that was a great way to present that angle and that story. But I can't. I really struggle, and maybe you guys can maybe through discussion enlighten me a little more. But I don't see why if Captain America was female, would that change the character at all? You know, I don't know. I don't feel like it would.
I'm totally okay with the what ifs. Like I mean, like one of my recent favorites is the what if comic from Marvel. What if, you know, this, and or what if that, you know, even Jane Foster becoming Thor for a while. I mean, was also pretty cool. But it wasn't because Thor didn't exist. Now, when you're telling me that Kal-El, the Superman that we have all grown to love, didn't exist, that's, or, you know, we're trying to escape him so we can bring in a different style of Kal-El, that's where I get a little butthurt. And the reason is because, yeah, we can do a what if story, but it needs to be a what if story.
Right.
I am so okay. Like, again, Earth 2's, I'm a big JSA guy. So I am totally okay with like an Earth 2 story. I'm totally okay with you know, a Val-Zod coming in and you know, producing this whole other world. Because could you imagine, and this is just kind of a pipe dream, could you imagine him introducing this world where there's this, not a Justice League, it's a Justice Society.
Mm-hmm.
It's a society with all these great characters like Dr. Midnight and Dr. Fate and Atom Smasher and all these great, awesome characters. Like, I mean, you know, I'm a huge fan of like Stargirl just for that fact. Introducing these pretty awesome characters. And you know what? Go ahead and play a little bit with their gender, their race, and whatnot. I mean, maybe the thing I get a little bit ate up about is like sexuality is like, I don't really give a crap what sexuality like a superhero has. That doesn't give me anything to the story. If you're heterosexual, homosexual,
no, I agree.
pansexual, I mean that.
And I actually find, and not to be this kind of guy, but when often they don't get, in a 2-hour film where the romance angle occupies like a fraction of the film.
Wonder
It's
Woman
always-
84.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh, Steve, bye. And she runs away from, see ya. But I just feel like it's forced. 90% of the time, it's forced. Like you don't feel anything anyway. Like, why are you guys in
Right.
love? Why do I?
Yeah,
why?
like
I don't.
what?
Yeah. I mean, I don't care.
Like Batman Forever at the end with Nicole Kidman and Val's chemistry was terrible.
Oh,
Yeah.
So bad.
Chase Meridian.
Yeah.
Dr.
Yeah,
Chase
yeah.
Meridian.
That didn't work for me.
I know.
But yeah, I don't know. To go along with some of it, it's like today I kind of went along and it is I could squeeze in some in the background, some podcasts and some African American podcasts of fans, and they were actually not happy about it. They're kind of, and I don't want to say it's 3 or 4. So, but the opinion is like, hey guys, we're a little tired of the tokenization of the characters at this point, and it would be really cool if you guys would go and give us original characters,
Right.
to get behind.
No,
There are, and you're absolutely right. If you really want to go down deep into the roster for DC, there's a lot of great characters that are Black or Asian, but there's not a ton. And you're absolutely right. You go back 30s and 40s, you had 0.
Right.
I mean, so over time you do need to grow and change and introduce characters. But I think when you get into those bigger characters, it's like a lot of fans, of whatever race or gender are like, you know what, let's keep them how they were for the last 50 years and how I grew up. I know a guy who's Hispanic and his all-time favorite character is Superman, and he wants him to stay white. It's like, that's Superman. Let's have another Hispanic character that's really cool. So yeah, it's like, hey, let's go down this list and give us these characters. And you're right, the branding, you're right, that is a huge part of it. But it's like, that used to be the argument, I feel, but I think Marvel blew that out of the water with what Guardians of the Galaxy. It's like, who the hell knew who Guardians of the Galaxy was? Who the hell really knew who Black Panther was? Right. Until boom, you put them out and you make a quality story, an original character who people can gravitate towards and become fans of. And it's like, well, there you go. That's why Black Panther, it's like everybody liked Black Panther because he's an original character.
Right.
So
I mean, Marvel. I mean, even Iron Man, right? I mean, for the casual fan, they didn't know who the hell Iron Man was prior to the film.
That's true. Yeah.
And now he's. I mean, you look at any kind of Marvel publications or in-house advertisings or just anything. He wasn't on it.
He's on it. No.
Now he's front and center everything. But
right. That's why everyone would say Iron Man was a B character. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's A-list. I've read about, he's always had a comic. But you're right. Most people are like, who the hell's Iron Man?
Right.
So,
but
anytime they take Iron Man out of the comics too, how they it just plummets. Like they tried that whole deal with Ironheart or even Pepper and whatnot. Like it just doesn't work without Tony.
I think the point you guys raised earlier too about it, just the organic change from a Steve Rogers to a Sam Wilson, it led to its acceptance. And I'm not even talking about race at this point. I'm just talking about another character inheriting the mantle. Where from a Hank Pym to a Scott Lang, for a whole generation of people now, Scott Lang is their Ant-Man. They had no idea that Hank Pym was a founding event. Created Ultron. No, they don't know anything about it, and they don't care because Scott Lang is their Ant-Man, and it was organic. It was done well. I don't think initially Ironheart was done well. I think that was just
you're right.
Tossed at people, and
Ill-conceived
especially-
idea.
Right. I mean, especially where, as we were talking about before, just making sure that, what's going on in your films and the books, if you have got Iron Man front and center in the films, then you probably want him front and center in the books. To take him out, and while he was at his peak, from a sales perspective, didn't make much sense, So I wasn't too into the character. Plus, I mean, I remember there was a storyline and then a whole animated show that revolved around a young Tony Stark. And I remember they had de-aged him for a while in the books. And then that was Iron Man. Yeah, right. The Iron Man Armored Adventure show. I didn't like it at all. I think it was the mainframe animation that really does it in for me. Sorry.
Yeah, I know the show you're talking about. It was not good. Yeah,
right.
It was hard. I couldn't get through it.
It's the same people who made, I remember, Transformers Beast Wars, I think.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And, I just found the concept of a arrogant teenager to be kind of annoying, sorry to say, maybe it's the middle school teacher in me. I don't know. But
there you go. Oh, middle school. Woof. Rough.
So Ironheart didn't do anything for me, but I am hopeful because they've nailed every show so far. So I mean, WandaVision, Falcon and Winter Soldier have been astonishing shows.
I mean, you can't count Marvel out. So you're right. I anticipate the Ironheart show is going to be pretty good, whereas
they'll
the
make
comic
us
is awful. But
I mean, you can say that about Ms. Marvel too, comparing the upcoming show compared to the comic, because the comic was trash, like bad.
Well, I mean, it's not that great, but it does have a fan following. I mean, initially, and it's gotten kind of silly over. I can't really read it now, but the initial one wasn't bad, and so
they excited me when they put Alpha Flight in there, but I mean that's about it.
Oh, you mean Captain Marvel? Yeah.
But you like that from as someone who's been reading for a while, but right? I mean, I think I think Miss Marvel. Characters like Miss Marvel, Squirrel Girl, the Young Avengers, is that what they're called? Gosh, like Hulkling and what are they?
Yeah.
Is that
you got the Young Avengers and then the Champions. I know Miss Marvel's in.
Oh, right. I think those characters. I mean, I know my students really like them. I don't think they were designed to resonate with the older fan base. They were designed to bring in youthful. Audiences, and I think it worked.
I agree. I think that you do have to have new characters and new youthful characters, so we can't begrudge that. But I think I'll say one more thing, and then we probably ought to move on. But when we go organic or inorganic, I don't know if anyone's been able to stomach watching season 2 of Batwoman, but that's the prime example of absolute bottom feeder writing, where you have your main character die off screen and you hand the mantle over to a black character who also is lesbian like the original character. Fine, but it's so poorly done. Right. Of hey, she finds a bat suit, she puts it on, she can start fighting crime. So, what? You just take on the mantle of Batwoman?
It would have been defense, though. In her defense, I have often put on. I live in New York City, so sometimes I will put on a cape, and we'll do my. I go out and
it's just how it is.
You gotta, you're like, hey, I gotta go get groceries. I'm gonna put on, and if someone comes at me, I'm gonna take
Makes
them
a
down.
big difference.
I got one question, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. Do you think we would be having this discussion if the Ray Fisher situation wasn't just completely crazy and Cyborg was going to end up being the great character? Because I did enjoy Cyborg a lot, especially in the Zack Snyder cut.
Oh, yeah, he was 10 times better.
Do you think it would have been more geared towards Ray Fisher and we wouldn't be discussing the possibility of a black Superman, or do you think it was already in the plans?
I think the Cyborg problem that DC has kind of goes back to the other issues that we were talking about, where across the media, it's not the same Cyborg.
Yeah.
The comic Cyborg, movie Cyborg, cartoon Cyborg, they're all different people. I remember going to see Masters of the Universe in the theaters as a kid, waiting for Cringer and Orko and waiting for all these characters from the cartoon that never showed. And then I found out later that it was never designed to be like the cartoon, that it was based on the comic books that came with the toys. But I didn't know that at the time. I was a little boy at the time. I wanted the He-Man that I knew from the cartoons. And I think a lot of children, I was crushed. I was crushed.
I remember
I'm still
that
waiting for
feeling.
the sequel. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember Skeletor popping out of the lava. I'll be back. And he never came back. You're disappointed.
Yeah. Come on, Frank. Get back in the game.
I know. But he was so good.
Yeah.
But I think that's a big issue with the Cyborg character. I think a couple years back, DC kind of put him up in the Justice League and in the hearts and minds of fans, and he's a Teen Titan, and he's not a leaguer, and so because of that, because you have him on Teen Titans Go, you have him front and center in Teen Titans Academy, and then in the films you're having him in the Justice League alongside Wonder Woman and Superman and everybody. And I don't know, I just I hate to keep using that term, but I don't think that transition was organic. I don't think the casual fan knows about Ray Fisher's issues with the studio.
Yeah. No, you would be right by that. Yeah. Only the hardcore fans pay attention to that, but yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I just, it's the unfortunate part of, and I mean no offense by Cyborg, and I mean no offense by even Ray Fisher, even though he says some pretty outlandish things. Like, Cyborg doesn't belong on the Justice League. I'm sorry, but like that's a spot held for a Green Lantern. If you wanted to put John Stewart in there, I would have been okay with it. But I mean,
Cyborg never really fit the league, like you said, and it goes back to just DC/Warner Brothers AT&T not having that. We've said it 1,000 times. The internet says it over and over. You don't have your Kevin Feige. You don't have somebody there overseeing all the properties, knowing the characters, as well as knowing how to produce movies. And you have too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah,
they had that with Jeff Johns, but they just continued to devalue his opinion. I feel like. I think there was too much conflict with Jeff Johns.
Well, and we could debate that all night long. I mean, I think he's one of the greatest comic writers ever, but I don't think he has the skill set to be a producer on a movie set. So that doesn't necessarily.
He certainly has the passion for characters. I mean, he
loves,
my gosh, right. I mean, the rebirths that he had done, with the Flash and Green Lantern, but and it's so clear that I mean, he has a heavy hand in the production of the Stargirl show, which was inspired by his late sister, I believe, right, Courtney?
Yes, correct. Yeah,
right. So. I mean, that show is amazing. That show is so well done.
That is good. Yeah.
And if you're a Justice Society fan, you gotta love that show, right?
Oh my gosh.
But I don't know. But you're right. I do agree. He doesn't have maybe the business acuity, like the business know-how to kind of pull off that production level. And and as you also said, I don't think AT&T or Warner Brothers really value what he has to say. They're not interested.
They don't. No,
they seem more like a quick buck kind of situation. They're not thinking long term.
Well, I mean, look how this all was a result of the poor critical reception that BVS received upon its release. I mean, I remember it well, and there was a lot of hate going around about that. Retroactively, there's been a lot of positivity towards that movie and Zack Snyder, but at that point, we had just had Deadpool, and there was the lighter touch that Marvel had, and people were not having the darker Superman, the darker Batman killing people, even though Michael Keaton killed how many gang members in the first Batman?
I got
come on.
I thought it was a funny post. I took a tiny clip of Batman Returns, which is still to this day one of my favorite superhero films ever made, and where he joyfully places dynamite in a guy's pants, kicks him into a sewer, and you should hear
I'm pretty sure that guy died. I'm pretty sure he died.
Well, not according to the comment section, man. Not according. Like that was play explode. Like people were rationalizing any given way that Batman did not kill that guy, and I'm, but it was so fun. I'm with you. Batman vs Superman was one of the few superhero movies I'm ashamed to say I did not see in the theater when I had a chance, and it was primarily because I'm like, I always felt like, do they not, like, there's 80 years now plus of history to pull from. Did you not see any of it? Did you not see any of that? Like, where did these characters come from? That's Superman in name only. That's Batman in name only. That's how I felt, at least. Yeah. And I admittedly was judging it before I even saw the film. But I will say the Batman vs Superman Ultimate Edition is so well done. It really changes so much.
It changes a lot. Yeah.
It gives that characterization, and that the theatrical cut was missing.
It got butchered in the theatrical cut, but it led to all the problems we have because they had that clear Zack Snyder vision, and then they panicked, and they were so reactionary. Oh my gosh, we've got to change everything, and what you're doing on the Justice League. So we won't go into that because it'll be a 2-hour discussion. But they panicked so much and course corrected in the midst of filming, and then of course the tragedy with Zack Snyder's daughter, bringing Joss Whedon, changed the whole movie. And then they created what we have today. So then you have a hit Wonder Woman, Aquaman, but then you have a disastrous Justice League movie. I mean, it's just it's all over the place.
DC. I mean, I also don't want to give Marvel a free pass either and say that everything that they've produced has. I mean, it's made money. But I don't think it stands the test of time. I don't think anyone's clamoring to watch Thor: The Dark World anytime soon. Or, I mean, I can't even stand the thought of watching Iron Man 2 or 3.
Iron Man 3.
I mean, they made a ton of money.
That movie.
I think 3 did one of maybe the best in the franchise. And
it made $1 billion actually. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. To me, it's just unwatchable at this point. But I don't want to give them a free pass either. But maybe DC also has to overcome a reputation now that they have of disjointed, and I don't think they'll ever overcome it. I
don't think so either, because every time they have a hit, then boom, they were on a winning streak a bit. You get $1 billion Aquaman, then you get $1 billion Joker. Maybe
Shazam did great.
Shazam
Wonder
did
Woman
really well, and then boom, you get. I know the COVID hit right after, but boom, you got Birds of Prey, and it tanked spectacularly.
It was a hot garbage too. It was unwatchable.
Oh yeah, I know. I tried. I convinced myself for about a week that I liked it. I convinced myself like I was in denial. Right.
So I mean, what was the other thing they had after that? That was not. Maybe it was nothing, I guess. But
I was not a fan of Wonder Woman 84.
That's it. That's it. Man, that was disappointing too. I that was the movie I convinced myself I liked. I maybe went 2 weeks and thought I liked it. So
you're better than I am. I remember watching with my wife, going, "What is going on? What is this? Why is she not put?" I just so many things in the movie I just could not wrap my head around.
Yeah, the plot holes were inconceivable.
Oh, yeah.
So
right.
Anyway, anybody else have a last word before we move on to our next?
No, I'm good. What is going to be our next one that we go on?
Well, we were going to talk about our favorite DC runs, titles, etc. So, who wants to start with that? Ref, why don't you take a turn? Let's hear it.
Well, I mean, Tom kind of stole my thunder when he was talking about Flash and Green Lantern Rebirth. Those are kind of
sure.
They're in my wheelhouse. That was right when I I mean, I say that I've been reading for 10 years, which is right around those times. But those were some of my the character development in those type of runs, and Jeff John's ability to just pull on your heartstrings to make you love a character. I mean, Barry Allen. That's why Barry Allen and Hal Jordan are my loves. Along with Booster Gold, are some of my loves in life, because again, they're my type of people. They're, Jeff Johns' rebirth opened up the. Do you? I mean, to be honest, and again, maybe I'm not as big into the older Flash series, with Mark Waid and all the, even way before that.
Carmine Infantino.
Art was so static. But do you truly believe that the Flash Rogues Gallery would be what it is without Jeff Johns' rebirth and his continued work with the Flash?
Yeah, I mean, I think he really did Jeff did really a fabulous job of taking those C-list level villains that you're like, okay, the guy's got boomerangs and he's going to try to fight the fastest man alive. How's that going to work again? And he did it. I mean, he made those characters, he gave them personalities. And so I agree. I mean, Jeff did phenomenal work in enhancing the rogues. I mean, he loved them as a kid. So there was a foundation there, because that's why he gravitated towards them and developed them as he did. So there was something there already, but man, he really took him to the next level. I agree with you. I think he really did phenomenal.
Yeah, those are two good choices. Absolutely. I was just, I'd probably say getting back into comics around that point when that came out. And that was just a perfect jumping on point. And it's just so entertaining, so well written. And to see, and I had missed a number of years. I pretty much, I probably stopped with 0 Hour. That was probably like my last big event. And then I tapped out for a while when I went to college. I kind of lost track of books for a while. And although thank goodness I had Wizard to keep me informed. But
Wizard.
Yeah, I jumped back on with those, and it's like I didn't miss a whole era without Kilowog in it. He was right back with all the Lanterns were back, and I everything after 0 Hour was a distant memory to me. I didn't. Yeah.
Well, and that's where I started to get liking some of. I mean, even so, you see Jeff's explanation of the Rogues and likability of the Rogues, and then you get Jeff's explanation and further evaluation of some of the Lanterns. One of my underrated Lanterns is Kilowog. I love Kilowog. I think
he's a fan favorite.
Yeah, he's such an amazing. I'm trying to, my toy collection. I'm still trying to find that original Kilowog figure that I can put in my collection and really feel good about it. So, yeah, I mean, again, I'm big on character development. If the character development is there in a storyline and the story sucks, I could probably still even love it. So Jeff Johns, probably some of his stories maybe suck, but
not very many in my opinion. No. I mean, he's just hardly can do any wrong for me. He's not perfect, but I'm still not convinced about the whole, what was it, an Infinite Crisis where Superboy Prime's punching a hole in reality. But aside from that, he's
why is Jason Todd alive again? Why is Jason Todd alive? Superboy, punch the wall.
Yeah, that does it every time.
And then for like a year, why is this happening? He punched the wall. He punched reality. It changes.
Yeah, that's what I do when I get mad. I punch reality. So
I know. For me, I'd say one of my favorite series is definitely Kingdom Come.
Oh yeah.
Kingdom Come is definitely up there. It's a book that I could pick up and just kind of flip through any page and enjoy it from where I'm reading. And it was so well done. And I definitely say one of my favorite little standalones. I wouldn't say it's a series, but it was part of like Alex Ross had those tabloid sized books, magazines.
Ooh, yes.
And Superman Peace on Earth was definitely one of my favorites.
That's great.
And I if you recall the book, long story short, he really is able to save the day as Clark Kent. And I think that was such a clever, he tries throughout the book to save it as Superman and can't do it. And ultimately it's Clark Kent and that is able to save the day. And it was just really cool and really humanizing, for a demigod like character to humanize him. It was well done.
Those are great. Those are really good. I think that didn't Alex do Batman and a Shazam one?
Right. Yeah.
And I think there was a Wonder Woman too. Maybe
there was. Yeah, there was Wonder Woman as well. Right.
I'll say mine before you say yours, because
go ahead.
You're going to be a while.
Let's do it.
I'm going to say one of my favorites, and you're the one that told me to read it, was a Sinestro Corpse, the Green Lantern.
Oh yeah,
Another good one.
I like that because it gave me a little bit of different characters, like you were saying with Green Lantern. And then on a personal note, I have really enjoyed the new Batman and Robin, and it's for a sentimental reason, because that was when Jersey was showing interest to reading comics. So we started reading those comics together with Damian Wayne and Dick Grayson and all that. So I enjoyed that. And then I love the Batman Hush. I just have always liked that.
Oh yeah, Batman Hush. Yeah, that's one of the all-time great Batman runs. So
this is one of those things where I give my answer, then I hear your answer. I'm like, oh damn.
Yeah.
Damn it. Well, that was Jim Lee at his finest, and if I'm wrong, but the writer was Jeff Loeb, but that is the only thing he did worth a shit. So
well, and Long Halloween, I know there's huge fans of that.
Oh yeah.
I just never got into the art on that, but I know people love it, so but
that's Tim Sale.
Tim Sale, yep.
Tim
Sale. Yeah. But
that's
mine
coming
is
up, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's coming up as a 2-part
animated.
I think.
Yeah. I'll be watching that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Mine's probably going to be kind of generic, but it's just easily my favorite DC book. It's just what I read it. I probably read it more than any others. The original Crisis on Infinite Earths, because that was coming out. I still have memories of going to karate. I'm in like 5th grade, and the episode or the issue 8 came out where the Flash dies, and I was devastated. And there was an older guy he's probably younger than me now, but he was taking karate, and he's like, he read comics too. He's probably in his 40s then, and he was all sad. We were all sitting around the dojo and kind of getting sad. And then our instructor was actually a comic fan, and he came over and was looking at it, and we were all like, oh my gosh, they killed the Flash. What are we going to do? We got to cancel practice. But
I'm sorry, just to piggyback on that story real quick, because I think that is something that this generation, the children of today's generation, are not experiencing. This idea that a comic book, reading it was
there it is.
Was a communal thing. You read your book and then you pass it to your friend to read, and I think it's a combination of like just the accessibility. Like, where are you getting it? I used to go to the corner store, and it was in a news rack, and I could pick up a book and a pack of gum and playing cards and come home, and that would be my weekend. And my friend would get a book and we would trade, and it's not happening anymore.
No,
not to get nostalgic or to be too depressing about the future state of comics, but just saying that is, but that's the movies and the cartoons. They've kind of supplanted that.
They definitely have, because sometimes even for me, it's like, do you go read a static book with Superman, or do you go turn on Man of Steel or Justice League? It's as a older person, I can appreciate it, but when you're younger, you're like, I don't want to read that comic. I want to go watch the state of the art effects movie. So, but anyway, yeah, back to Crisis. It's still the one that I don't know that there's ever been a crossover quite as well done to this day where it had every character at the time in DC. I mean, even throwing in your Old West characters,
little Batlash.
Batlash, Nighthawk, Cinnamon. Then you throw in your other, Scalp Hunter. You throw in Sergeant Rock, Haunted Tank. It's like everyone gets in the book. It's phenomenal how they did that. And that's where I really fell in love with DC. And then Coach and I just got the huge omnibus of Who's Who.
Oh, my
the
brother
original,
well.
the original '80s run. It's like between Crisis and that book, it was like just constantly reading it and learning all the characters, and so those are easily my favorite DC books. And when anyone says, "Hey, what should I read?" I'm kind of getting into comic books. I'm like, well, at DC, you got to at least put that in your collection and try to read it. Is the first Crisis, so that's what I got.
I did enjoy as a kid reading the Who's Who and the G.I. Joe Order of Battle books. I don't know if you remember those.
Ooh, is that the one with Rocky Balboa in it?
That was the one with Rocky. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then by the next issue, he was no longer a G.I.
He was gone, and I can remember telling my mom, I'm like, I'm gonna get a Rocky Balboa G.I. Joe figure. I can't wait. Didn't happen.
all because of Rambo and Coleco.
Yes.
He made a deal with Coleco to make Rambo toys, and they're like, what? Hasbro's like, well, I don't want to have two Stallone. I'm not going to compete with that, and just let them go.
I disagree. There's never enough Stallone, but that's just my opinion.
When in doubt, Stallone.
Yeah.
What was the Superman one that you had me read too? I was trying to look for it today and I couldn't find it, but I really enjoyed that. It was the first one. It was with Brainiac.
Oh yeah, that was the Jeff John Gary Frank run. I forget it was. I can't remember the title of the trade, but yeah, it's where he took on Brainiac, and then
it was really good.
And then, it's not even that old. Then I think it went into the one with Legion. Jeff brought back the Legion of Superheroes again with Gary Frank art. Those are probably
Legion. He made the Legion pretty awesome. I got excited about the Legion, and then I read Bendis's Legion, and I'm like, oh.
I haven't read it yet, but I haven't heard anything good about it. So, yeah. So that's kind of what we got for the comics.
Very cool.
And next.
All right, we can talk about what we're looking forward to as far as our movies.
Okay.
HBO Max. So
any streaming service, HBO Max or movies for DC.
Yeah, and I guess CW if you think they have anything.
Netflix is getting a few DC. They have Sweet Tooth. I mean, these aren't necessarily your superhero stuff. But
Sweet Tooth. That looks good.
Yeah, is that June? I think it's coming out in a month.
Think so yeah, I think so. So
I forgot. I just as soon as you said other streaming services, because right now when I think DC, all I'm thinking is HBO Max and
right.
But I forgot that DC Netflix is going to get a few DC things as well.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think there's something called Deathbed or something they're developing as well. I forgot who wrote that. I know it's a Vertigo title, but anyway, I'll just say I'm looking forward to the most as far as DC. I don't think it's even close at this point. I cannot wait for Black Adam. I mean, I should say Flash, but I'm more excited for Black Adam because it's a ton of characters we haven't really seen. I love The Rock, so I can't wait to see him. But Dr. Fate, really well done. I mean, he's done in Smallville, which wasn't terrible, but
who is it? Pierce Brosnan, right? As Dr. Fate?
Yeah, we got Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah.
I mean, you got James Bond as Dr. Fate.
Yeah, cool.
Cyclone's in it, Atom Smasher. And then, they won't call her Isis, but she's in it too.
Right.
For obvious reasons. So that's easily my most anticipated DC project, unless they were to, somehow make a Miracle Cavill HBO Max series. I would go nuts for that.
I think if anyone could get that to happen, it's going to be Dwayne Johnson, because he did say that he would like to fight Henry Cavill's Superman. And, what is he, the highest paid star in Hollywood? I'm sure he could throw that weight around and make something happen. I'm sure if he put AT&T, Warner Brothers on the spot, using his social media empire, they would fold like a house of cards, I'm sure.
Well, his agent is The Rock's agent is ex-wife Danny Garcia, and that's happens to be Henry Cavill's agent. So It's like, they're working together to make things happen. So I think it's got to happen somehow.
Can I tell you how delusional sometimes I get with Warner Brothers and DC is that sometimes I think to myself, you know what? They're not disappointing in me. They're setting me up for something, and it's going to be amazing. And that's a literal thought I have sometimes, and then I realize no.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Sometimes that's how you got to get through the day. You're like, oh no, they're gonna treat me right. They've been treating me bad for 20 years. I know it's gonna change.
Yeah. I want a return of Swamp Thing. I'm not stopping till I get it.
Yeah, one of the all-time greats.
Oh yeah. But I'm excited about Green Lantern, the Green Lantern Corps. Yeah, did ever they went with Green Lantern Corps is the name, right? I remember that was talk.
Are you talking the HBO Max series then?
I am. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, they recently cast a Guy Gardner. Yeah. And a lot of people, I think a lot of people misinterpreted that as Guy Gardner's going to be like the main character, but it just means he was cast.
True.
Right. But I would love like an anthology series. Just give me a different Lantern every week, and
that'd be cool.
I don't need a core character. I need give me someone, whether they live, whether they die, whether is almost inconsequential, because it's a one and done kind of anthology thing before you move on to the next hero.
Yeah.
And save your big guns, Jon Stewart, save Hal for the movie, but give me an episode about Chip. I want to see the intergalactic crime fighting squirrel. Can't go wrong with
Chip
that.
Chip versus what's the Red Lantern cat? Shane Davis created. Dexter. Yeah, there it is. There it is.
It's from Brooklyn. So
okay. Shane is? Oh, okay.
No, Dexter the cat.
Is he really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
Hometown hero.
All right. Sounds cool. Cool. Ref, what do you got? What's your...
I'm going to go out on a limb.
Uh-oh.
Be really severe.
Uh-oh.
Peacemaker.
No.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. I am...
you have good answers.
As much as John Cena, I don't know. I have usually underestimated John Cena.
Right.
I've usually.
Oh yeah. Oh no, that's Macho Man. Sorry, I just watched the documentary.
Yeah, I get it. But like Peacemaker, like with him being in the Suicide Squad and just his visuals. I mean, I think he's just quite the badass character, and he's just so obscure.
Yeah.
It just could be pretty exciting for me.
Yeah, I agree. I'm giddy that they went with his comic accurate look. I can't believe they did it.
Oh yeah.
I love it.
I didn't think they would.
I told you, Ace, what I was worried about the most with that movie is I've seen, John Cena, I've seen him in many movies, and the comedian part comes out, and I know this is going to be over the top funny, but I don't want it to go so far to it can't even be taken serious at all, and unless they're just going to go for that.
I don't think they will. I understand where you would go that route. I think it's going to be a blend of, like, I don't know, what do you guys think, like a Deadpool Guardians tone? Right. Definitely R-rated. So maybe more Deadpool. So you're going to have some comedy in there, and he's going to be they describe him as a douchebag Captain America.
He's he's the comedian, right? From Watchmen. That was his analog, So I'm hoping that we're going to see like a off the wall. I'm sure there's a lot more to the Peacemaker, because if they're willing to throw it's a limited series, right? So it's probably like 4 or 5 episodes or something like that.
Yeah,
But
something like that.
if they're willing to toss that much money and they have that much confidence before the movie came out, I'm sure he's going to deliver as Peacemaker. That's my take on it.
Yeah.
Of all the characters, you would think that getting, I don't know how big a star John. I mean, he's going to be in the Fast and the Furious 9 as well this summer. So he's
he's taking the Rock spot.
His collateral is going to be going up. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Go
ahead. Sorry. Go ahead, Tom.
I was going to say my only issue with The Rock, I got to tell you, and please don't tell him I said. Okay.
He's watching. He's already talking in chat.
Wayne, it's okay, bro.
Don't worry about it, Dwayne. We're fine. We got your back.
If he is watching, my only problem is that you're just too amazing. You're too amazing. My only problem is that he's just like, why bother even giving him a character name? I feel like sometimes the same thing about Tom Cruise. He doesn't even need it to character. He's just Tom Cruise in a different movie.
That's so true. Yeah,
it's Dwayne Johnson in a different movie. I mean,
right.
That's my only issue. But I doubt I could, like you said, I'll put all that aside just to see Dr. Fate on the big screen, just to see Hawkman on the big screen.
Yeah.
I'm
Hawkman,
happy
of
with
course.
that. Yeah. I'll be happy with all that.
But I got to piggyback on the Peacemaker too, because at least according to some inside sources that, other Charlton characters are going to be in there. I mean, Judo Master was 100% confirmed. And, if somehow they threw in a Captain Atom, I might lose my mind. So,
is this for the series?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I know nothing about the series. I got to bone up on that. Very cool.
Yeah.
I mean, and that bleeds into, for me, Blue Beetle. Like, I mean, if Ted Cord can have some significance in the Jaime's,
right,
Jaime's appearance.
Yeah, it'd be cool if they could. Yeah, it'd be really cool if they could piggyback Ted in Peacemaker series, and maybe he kind of bleeds into the Blue Beetle movie with Jaime. So
I gotta say, I'm not happy because I've been giving my answers first, and then Ref gives much better answers than me. And I every answer you've given, as soon as you give your answer, I go, oh, should have said Blue Beetle.
You're like, dang it, yeah, of course, that's it.
I gotta tell you, I'm such a Blue Beetle fan. I love the character, any iteration of the character. That when my wife used to take our kids to the Bronx Zoo, there was a little, oh my gosh, what do you call it? Carousel of insects, and one of them was a beetle that happened to be blue, and we would race to get that one, and she raced to get that one just so my son would ride the Blue Beetle and I would be happy. So
there you go.
And I said Green Lantern Corps, and he said Blue Beetle. I should have said Blue Beetle. I'm going after him next time. Next question, I go after him.
There you go. All right.
I'm gonna go with. I'm actually excited. I love the trailer. The Suicide Squad coming out. I think James Gunn is gonna get it back to where it needs to be compared to what the Birds of Prey was. But I think it's gonna be a fun. Just sit back and just have fun watching this type of movie, and it's just gonna be good. And I think Margot Robbie's going to get back to what she is with Harley Quinn. And when she was Harley Quinn in the first Suicide Squad, I thought it was like superb. She nailed it. And I hope that's what happens on this one. And my next one is, I'm really looking forward to Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Because I love the first Shazam, and I don't think it got the love that it actually deserved. And I'm hoping, I get worried about the sequel in most, like Wonder Woman 84. I hope it doesn't go that direction, but I really like Shazam, and I think it's going to build to something bigger with him meeting Black Adam at some point.
I do hope they keep that family kind of friendly, universal appeal of Shazam. I definitely think if you were a longtime comic reader, if you had never heard of Shazam, if you had never heard of Captain Marvel, I call him Captain Marvel. But you really could have enjoyed that film. You didn't need any background information to enjoy it. It was connected, yet it stood alone. It was really, really masterfully done.
My kids loved it. They absolutely loved it.
Right. Had a nice theme.
You're right.
Nice theme. It's so far fetched, but it was so grounded at the same time. It was really. I agree with you. What is there anything that's been revealed about Fury of the Gods that we should know?
Not a whole
I don't
lot.
think.
Yeah,
not a lot.
They cast Helen Mirren as one of the villains.
Oh yeah.
And there's 2 younger actresses that I'm just not that familiar with that got cast. I think they're playing the 3, the Greek witches, the 3 seers, or
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So that's the only thing I know about it. Yeah. So,
Lucy Liu's gonna play.
Lucy Liu. Yeah.
Oh yes, I
Lucy
forgot about
Liu.
that. That was big.
Yeah. Right.
Oh,
Okay.
So yes.
I can't believe
Yeah,
none of us didn't say The Flash or Aquaman 2.
Ooh. Yeah. I love. Oh man. There's something about
Isn't it crazy?
Aquaman that I can just put it on just in the background just because I like having it on. It's so neat to look at. I mean, the costumes are like, who would have thought they would have actually went with the orange and green and made it look like one of the best costumes I've seen? It's just phenomenal.
I mean, if I have to give the Aquaman maybe just a slight kink, is Jason Momoa is good, but I don't know if he's that great of an actor.
He strikes me as another Rock Tom Cruise, where it's like, I think every role he plays, he's kind of Jason Momoa.
Yeah, he makes Arthur Curry the Jason Momoa instead of making Jason Momoa Arthur Curry.
And you notice the not too subtle change in the comics to make him Aquaman look just like Jason
God,
Momoa.
Right.
That's the frustrating part. Yeah.
Right.
Now I still think the most important movie to work, and it needs to work, is Flash.
Oh yeah, if that one's tanks or really hits bottom, they're in trouble, because they are banking on the Flash to set up the whole multiverse so they can, what we're hoping is like, okay, you have whoever it is, Black Superman, whichever version, and then you have Henry Cavill, or you have Ben Affleck, and you have Michael Keaton, and you have maybe Linda Carter out there somewhere, and you have Gal Gadot. And so yeah, if that movie, that's supposed to set all that up, and if it tanks,
it's bad. It's in trouble.
It's weird to think that we're in a world where we have 3 Harley Quinn movies and no Flash movies yet. I mean, counting Suicide Squad.
Yeah, that is just preposterous.
It is Margot Robbie, though.
Well, yeah, I'll give it a bit of a pass. Yeah. Hey, special mention though. I can't believe I'm saying this, because I do have Batman fatigue, but woof, if that new Batman movie is as good as that first trailer, wow.
Right.
I mean,
and that was only with like a small, less than 25% of the film made at that point. That trailer was released. Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's another one. I should have gone last.
I mean, I hope it's good. I just didn't want to say it with everybody, calling me a fanboy.
Fanboy.
I mean, they're all good, right? Every Batman.
Yeah, there is Batman and Robin. Hey, by the way, just have some fun if you want to do a drinking game. Watch Batman and Robin and take a drink every time there's an ice pun. You won't make it past the first 30 minutes.
The Schwarzenegger.
The way George Clooney delivered that line with passion. Hey, Freeze, I'm Batman. Oh, just chills.
It's chills. Oh man, I got goosebumps right now just thinking about it.
Which does that count? I think what I just said counts as an ice pun.
I think
chills for sure.
Chills.
There you go. All right.
I got some water over here. All right, so are we now going to what we think DC Comics is, the state of DC Comics?
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
I was going to say, I know I said I'd go last, but I have to tend to my family in a second, so I might have to tap out after this question, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
First of all, guys, awesome experience. Thank you very much for having me. I was very honored to be asked to be on. And
Yeah.
if you guys ever need an old
Don't say
nerd on
old
your show
man
again,
because I'm older than
oh,
you.
okay,
So is Ace.
I think we're all kind of the same
seasoned.
age. So yeah.
Except me.
Season.
I'm young.
I think the ultimate way to solve DC's problems, AT&T, Warner Brothers needs to sell it. They have no interest in the company. They have no value other than marketing. I don't think they see it anything other than potential branding opportunities. And I don't want to see the characters that I love, whatever version of them, go by the wayside. So I've always been a DC fanboy at heart. My father used to pick up comics for me on the weekend. My brother introduced me to comics, and I always gravitated toward the DC characters. And I just don't think that they see the value in it that we do. And there might be a company out there that might value them more. And I would love to see that happen. I don't know if AT&T selling it is possibly the answer. In my mind, it is, but maybe a change in leadership, over at the company. But I don't see the comic book industry side of DC having much of a future under their guidance.
I'll piggyback on that, Tom. I agree with you 100%. In fact, I think it's likely they sell DC, maybe even
Right.
Warner Media, because AT&T is, like billions of dollars in debt. And I think you're right. I think they're looking at winding down publishing, and
Right.
maybe they do sell DC to somebody else.
Well, I want to say this real quick.
But,
Tom, it has been a pleasure. I know you probably have to get going.
I'm getting the
you're getting
You get going.
Like, hey,
we
come
thank you so much for being on, and check him out on Instagram and TikTok. He is fabulous. So thank you so much.
Thank you, gentlemen. You have a great night.
Thanks, Tom.
It was a pleasure, guys.
All right.
Very much. Take care.
You too, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
He was great.
Yeah.
So you piggyback then on what he's saying, because we've already heard that the possibility of somebody buying it, and we talked about, could Robert Kirkman step up and pay for it or something like that. And he had an interesting thing that he said about the leadership, and I'm sort of picking pieces of everything here. In my opinion, I think we both agree that Jeff Johns loves the characters and the passion for everything, but he isn't the Kevin Feige for DC. He just can't do the producer part of a movie, but he can do the comics.
Yes, he can.
Should they say the comics are yours? You have them, and
that's a great idea / question. I don't know that he'd have the money to buy it, though.
And I'm not saying he can buy it. I'm saying he should run it.
Oh yeah, I don't think they'll let that happen though. Just because of internal politics. There's issues within the Warner Brothers side, the movie division, against him, even though he's still on the lot. He's not been fired. He's still working on Stargirl. But there's still some internal issues, I think, with him and some of the talent, rightfully or wrongly, that he made mad. Mm-hmm. And so I don't see a situation, because what's going to have to happen is Warner Brothers or AT&T is going to want to sell DC. They want money, or they're going to license it out to another company. So in either way, I don't know how that happens with a Jeff Johns, because he's going to have to pony up some big bucks. Robert Kirkman has big bucks because of Walking Dead. Now Jeff is he's got money. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying
not to buy a property like this. Now here's a question. we all know that Robert Kirkman loves comics. I mean, look what he's already done with Invincible's gone crazy, and it deserves it because it was great.
Yeah.
Could somebody like him buy it and try to have Jeff Johns come over and help with that part of it? Because in my opinion, if somebody
Yes.
is a billionaire like Kirkman is, he's also smart. He also has to know that probably one of the most knowledgeable person about all the characters of DC has to be Jeff Johns. So why
Yeah.
wouldn't you want him to come over with that?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I mean, Jeff's heart is, I mean, he's obviously going into the Geiger creator owned, dabbling with that, but his heart is with the DC characters. That's where he wants to be. So yeah, I think that would be probably the holy grail / heavenly answer to it, if a Robert Kirkman who would know how to run that ship and partner with a Jeff Johns to be the creative guy behind it all would be every DC's dream. And I think everyone would get what they would want. You'd have diverse characters, but you'd have the original characters in there in the way that we've all grown to love. So I think everyone would be happy and how it was done. That would be fabulous. I mean, if we could make a wish, that would be it.
Well, I think a lot of people forget that Robert Kirkman had a pretty decent run at Marvel. And he had a slight run with the Avengers. He actually made a new Ant-Man character with Eric O'Grady, and which was kind of interesting all in itself, because Eric O'Grady was kind of a unlikable douchebag, but
Yeah.
but I mean, I think Robert Kirkman could. I mean, you go to the Invincible universe and all those superhero-esque characters that he has touched with Brit and Tech Jacket and Battle Beast and all the things, like
Astounding Wolfman.
Yeah, Astounding Wolfman. Like he could breathe life in DC, and he could say, okay, we can have these traditional characters, but holy hell, we can bring some pretty new heat. And you know what? I don't blame DC for trying new things. I would never do that. Like, I'm interested to see, new Green Lantern characters. I'm interested to see other new things, but
yeah,
they need someone there who is leading them in the path that, hey, let's try new things, but let's keep the old. Let's keep some of those things that made us who we are.
The only problem that I see with a possibility of Robert Kirkman is that his individual comics now are getting too big, that why would he care to buy something like DC?
Well, I mean, but
right.
But Walking Dead, he can't probably write much. I mean, because I'll be honest, I've read the first 100 issues of Walking Dead. Anything after that's pretty garbage.
But I mean, with the success that Invincible has had, does he have any creative juices flowing to do something new?
To know that everything that Robert Kirkman has touched, Outcast, what's his new comic, Firepower, right?
I haven't read it yet, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, the guy is always trying new different things. Like Outcast is pretty astounding because it's not superhero based. It's more demonic. It's more, supernatural.
It's kind of an Exorcist vibe, yeah. And then there's got Oblivion Song, wasn't it? The other one. I haven't read that yet either, but yeah, everything he touches, Thief of Thieves. Yeah, he's up there. Everything he does is at least good.
Him and Mark Millar really, other than some of maybe like Josh Williamson and whatnot, have made Image what they are. I mean,
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. They've taken Image to the next level. after the original guys in the 90s. Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say you don't see the Liefelds and whatnot like you did in the 90s. You see Kirkman and you see Millar, and if those guys write a comic book, you pick it up.
Well, that's why you've got you really got to have a good writer, and we won't get into the whole history of the Image comic founding, but that's why a lot of it floundered after a huge and magnificent start because yeah, because ultimately those guys were artists and they weren't great writers. Some of them were terrible writers. So it ended up kind of, meandering into, wow, this is a great concept, great visual, great art, but whew, the stories are hot garbage.
And
so
I don't want to say a whole lot, but we're reading one now that you can 100% tell the artist is fantastic, but he's not a writer.
right. Yeah.
And I don't want to say what it is, but I couldn't even get halfway through it and I was already done.
It's kind of rough. It was kind of rough. So it's pretty to look at, but whew,
Yep.
not much there substance wise. So, I mean, you'll get a rare guy that can do both, like a Jim Starlin. He's a really good writer. And then his art is phenomenal, created Thanos, but not very often do you get that.
Alex Ross has done a couple good.
Yeah, Alex Ross. So he doesn't do that much, but he's really capable. I mean, he just mostly does covers now, but I mean, so, but yeah, very capable. So I don't know, DC, if you listen to the Ethan Van Sciver's and I got to say, love him or hate him, he's kind of been dead on with a lot of predictions, and he's still saying, next year sometime, I think it was next year within 2 years, DC's not publishing comics, or they've sold them, or excuse me, AT&T has sold them, or they're licensing them out to somebody else. So, their publishing division at Warner Brothers or at AT&T will be defunct, and it'll be surviving in some other capacity. And I think he's right. I just do, because they're not getting new sales. The amount of money that the comics produce a year is a drop in the bucket. We're talking 200-300 million a year on comics, and you're a company that's billions of dollars, maybe $10 billion in debt. So it's minuscule, and you literally only have DC before the IP, so you can mine all the properties for TV, movies, video games. Well, you can still do that. You can license out the comic publishing. Hey guys, go do that. Well, you pay us a fee and do what you want. We'll still get creative control and make movies, but we don't want to mess with making comics anymore.
And that might be better for everybody in general.
It really might be too, because I mean, they've lost so much talent, and Marvel's lost so much talent. You've got huge megastar guys and again, I give credit to Ethan Van Sciver. Like I said, people might want to hate on him, but he started it. He didn't start it, but he was one of the first guys. $1 million on every book he puts out on crowdfunding. And other guys are like, well, dang, if Ethan can do that, I can get a piece of that pie. And you can sell a quarter of what Ethan sold, but you get all the profits.
Yeah.
I mean, you get paid a salary at Marvel and DC. You create your own IP. You are paying yourself, and that's what a lot of guys are finally starting to learn, and not be subservient to the big two.
And the hard thing on that, in my opinion, is there's a lot of people that could do that, but there's not a lot of top tier people that are going to have that success. So
right.
Unless they figure out some way of teaming up with a writer and a artist, teaming up together to now produce something and split the profits, I don't see how you're going to have a lot of success.
Well, like Ace is saying,
right.
You don't see these artists nor these writers wanting to be in these big areas. You see like companies like artisans and whatever. Like you got JMS, you've got Mike Deodato. Like Mike Deodato could be an amazing artist in either DC or Marvel, and we've seen him there. But he probably can make some better money and have some, and for artists and writers, it's not necessarily even just the money. It's the ability to have the flexibility to do whatever the heck they want.
Yeah.
Have the freedom to make the characters who they want them to be, instead of these editorial Gestapos who, oh, you didn't make them diverse enough, or oh, you didn't do this enough. So I think that's the appeal of that.
Well, I mean, again, I'm going back to Ethan because he's just kind of the best example. But yeah, Cyberfrog is maybe never going to be as popular as Spider-Man, but it doesn't have to be, because he's making huge bank, more than he's ever made working for DC, and he owns this property. It's his, and so he's cleaning house. And then I thought about that too, Coach, is like, well, maybe it'd be cool if Ethan goes in with all these other guys like Shane Davis. They're all buddies on Comicsgate, and they all join their forces and create a comics universe together. And then they could really rival Marvel DC. But it's like, well, then you've got egos, and then you're trying to split profits, and this character's appearing in your book. And then that's what crumbled the Image guys, They all went in together, and eventually they all disbanded. I mean, Image Comics still survives, obviously, but all those guys are gone outside of Eric Larson. So it's just probably not going to work. Well, I don't mean they're gone from the comic business, but they're not at Image. Right. I mean, only Eric Larson is still at Image. So,
Silvestri's still writing here and there. I mean, yeah, he's not a consistent force.
But he's not at Image. I mean, he's got Top Cow. So, anyway, yeah, I just don't. I'm sure they're all like, why would I do that? Why am I going to go share Cyberfrog? I'm making $1 million a year on my own book, and instead of writing or drawing 12 issues a year, I'm drawing one.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think what I'm meaning, like, without saying names again, there's going to be more of the one that we're reading that we can't hardly read than the Ethan. Right. And in my opinion, if that one guy that we're talking about would pair up with a decent writer, the book would
that's a
be
good
way
point.
better.
Right.
But they don't want to split the profit.
Right. So, there's going to be a lot of guys that are in that way, way, way lower range of like, hey, I'll produce 2 or 3 a year and get 10,000 a piece. They're only going to raise 10, 15,000, which is good money, I guess. But I mean, you're not going to get rich off that, obviously.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know where it'll go, but we'll see. I don't think really great things are headed for Marvel or DC publishing wise. Their characters are going to survive and thrive on the big screen, but for the comic fans, I think their future is uncertain in the publishing world.
Yeah.
So, it'll be I think the next 2 years will be real interesting to see how this all plays out.
Well, that's all I got. I don't know about you all. Any last words?
Hey, I haven't said it recently, but if you like our channel, please subscribe and tell your friends about it. I think it's important to know that
hit that like button
to the comics. Hit the like button
and the bell.
And the bell.
And the bell.
It's only an hour and 45 minutes into this that you finally remembered to say that.
I'm sorry.
I told you, Josh. Ace and I will forget every time.
I don't even know what promotion means. What's that mean again? Marketing.
Ace, all about swag, man. Come on.
Swag, baby.
All right. Well, I think that's it for
Kiss
us.
Product placement. Gene wants you to buy more Kiss paraphernalia.
Hit the end button, Coach, quick.
Yep. See you guys.